and councils for the well important trust in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Let thy blessing descend upon us here in this parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in thy presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interest thou hast committed to our charge, all which we ask in the name and for the sake of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Obituary and congratulatory remarks. Confirmation of minutes.
Yeah, hold on. Or Senator Paris, you wanted to say something? Yes. Okay. Your mic?
Thanks for your recognition, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I'd like to stand and offer some congratulations to Mr. Addison James, his family, his coaches, his supporters, for yet another undeniable performance at this year's Character Games. Addison James continues to demonstrate the discipline, the focus, the willingness and the drive that is reserved for champions at the highest level. I want to let Addison and his family know that we are continuously proud of him. His community and his country continues to lift their head a little high every time he goes on the field. Well done, my boy.
Mr. Speaker, I would love to extend my deepest sympathy and condolences to the Roll family from Loda on the passing of Elizabeth Roll. Good friend of ours. The entire family is also a very good friend of us as well. So we want to wish them all the strength and God's guidance through these trying times. Ms. Roll was a very friendly person, a well-loved person in the community, and it's a tremendous loss for the community of Loda and the entire Roseau Valley by extension. I'd also want to extend my deepest condolences to the Ofa family in Mount Prosper for the passing away of Fitzroy Ofa. These families are very well known to us, and they're good supporters of us and in the community as well. So we want to extend our deepest sympathy and condolences to all the family and wish them God's strength and grace through these trying times. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Wesley constituency, I too would like to extend congratulations to Mr. James, Mr. Speaker. The Northeast continues to produce a number of athletes, and I think that the work of the coach, Mr. Dorset, is one of the gentlemen for the last maybe 30 years, continues to train the young men and women of the Northeast. So I'd like to say congratulations to Mr. James and all the athletes who participated in the Character Games 2026.
Good morning to all. Mr. Speaker, I too wish to express my deepest and most sincere condolences to the various families, and that includes Mrs. Rowe, my dear friend, her daughter, Genevieve, is in profound pain, having lost her mother. I wish to also express my most sincere family to the family of Cletus Halibut Abraham, a cultural icon, not only in Dominica, but in the region, who was laid to rest recently. And for many of the younger ones may not know him, but the type of impact that he had on music, it transcends time, from the 70s to now. And the creative songs that we hear today, we celebrate today, in the way that our music now takes off, a lot of that can be attributed to the type of work, the foundation that he laid. I wish to express my sympathies also to the families of the hospital medical director, Dr. Blah, and the former financial secretary, Mrs. Edwards, on the passing of their dad. We know him affectionately in Massac as Mr. Bo, someone who has been known as a family man, a church man, a community man, someone who has had profound impact on my family, and even my mom, whenever she thinks of a relationship, a marriage, a couple to look up to, it would be Mr. Bo and his dear wife of blessed memory. And also to yesterday, the family of Ronald Julian of Warner, his dear brother, is part of the elite special branch, and probably had it not been for that death, he may have been here today. Someone who, a young man who suffered, but the type of impact he had on the community he has had is so profound. After his passing yesterday, the halls of ICU and the hospital were filled, and I had to explain to the doctors and nurses there of who this man was, a man who impacted community, who would transport children safely, and money certainly was not the driver. It was love for community, and we certainly grieve this passing, and many others who are suffering now. My heart goes out to all. Blessings to all.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for. I want to extend congratulations to Mr. Addison James, and of course all of the athletes who participated in the character games in Grenada, the coaches, the management staff, the Ministry of Sports, the sports coordinator and the staff. Mr. James, as always, continues to do well, and I think that he is someone that the Ministry of Sports will have to give some added support to ensure that he can get to the level of preparing himself for the Olympics and so forth. So it's a conversation we'll have with himself and his family, his coaching team, to provide all the financial and technical support to him, because clearly this guy has tremendous potential, and he must be encouraged by the entire nation. So we'll certainly be providing for some special arrangements in discussion with himself and his coaching team. I too want to take the opportunity quickly, Mr. Speaker, to extend sympathies to the Blah family of Massac, both Dr. Blah and Mrs. Edwards, who worked with me for so many years as the financial secretary. I happen to have met Mr. Blah many times, a very distinguished gentleman, always well dressed, very, very, very diligent and very respectful. And of course, it is clear that in his children, that has been exemplified. And so our prayers and thoughts are with them. Also, I want to take the opportunity to extend my sympathies to Genevieve and the family, Rule family, the entire Rule family of Loda. I know Mrs. Rule personally very well for many decades. Very gentle soul, very loving person, and a community-oriented person. Always had good guidance and advice, and so our thoughts and prayers are with the Rule family. Also, regards to also we have the Miss Rudette, who died in Kulibistri, and to her entire family there. I knew Miss Rudette for a very long time. Her family has been very kind to us for decades, and we extend our heartfelt condolences to the family. And also to the Julian family of Warner. Julian, the deceased brother, works with us in the special branch, one of the most dedicated and diligent and trusted officers in the branch. So I can understand the extent of the grief of the entire family. But I want to say to himself and his mother and the entire Julian family that we stand in complete and absolute solidarity with them and during this time, and we shall walk with them, along with them during this difficult period. May the souls of the faithful departed, for the mercy of God, rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I wish to extend condolences to the family of Philip Francis, a very interesting name. He was called UNICEF. I have been seeking to understand where that name came from, but he started the revolution in the Geneva estate in Grand Bay in 1974. I will not delve into the history of that, but he was able to lead the people of the Grand Bay community to stand against the estate owners to ensure that the residents of Grand Bay were able to have the Geneva estate for themselves. We have the Geneva playing field, we have the Geneva housing, and it was a massive estate that has impacted the lives of people of the Grand Bay community and truly demonstrated the strength and courage of the Grand Bay people. Mr. Speaker, I want to extend condolences to his 3 children and to wish them well and to let them know that we will continue to support them. I also want to join the Prime Minister and colleagues in congratulating Addison James on his achievement at the Carifta Games and all the athletes who participated, as well as extend my condolences to the families of the deceased who were mentioned, especially Halibut, a great son of Dominica. I think he would have played, well, his career in Calypso extended his entire life, it seems, because he was one of the few who was able to come back decades later with a hit song that remained today. But he performed, I'm sure, together with Lord Bingo, who was himself a formidable musician at the time. And I also always feel a sense of kinship because it is, in fact, part of who we are, an expression that has been truly created as Dominican. And I do hope that we can remember him in a way that is visible, but also memorable, a way that will remain with us for his contribution in helping to create and to develop Calypso. Thank you.
Confirmation of minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the meeting of Monday, 23rd February 2026 be confirmed as circulated.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of the meeting Monday, 23rd February 2026 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Announcements by Speaker.
I received 4 correspondence seeking permission to be absent from this sitting, and it is as follows. Honorable Melissa Poppins-Kerrit, out of state on official business. Honorable Greta Roberts, dealing with an urgent personal matter. Honorable Oscar George, dealing with a personal matter. Senator Lauren Henderson Reid, dealing with an urgent family matter. Permission is granted to all who have applied or seeking permission to be absent today. Also, although the Honorable Prime Minister is present, but the Honorable Prime Minister have asked permission to be excused to deliver urgent matter after he have delivered his budget, well, not budget, but his contribution. Yeah. No. Well, yes, because this matter is almost like a supplementary estimate, so members would have like a free hand, to debate, So yes, but I wanted to point out that the Honorable Prime Minister actually sought my permission to be not absent, but to leave after a certain time. It's showing the level of discipline and respect to the chair. So I just wanted to announce it, so at least the public and members can take a lead. So let's proceed. Mr. James.
The paper, sir. Presentation.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table. Value Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2026.
Notices.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be moving the motion Value Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2026, standing in my name on the order paper.
Statement by ministers. Public business, government business, motion.
Mr. Speaker, Value Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2026. Whereas Section 18(1) of the Value Added Tax Act, Chapter 6708 of the 2017 Revised Laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica provides that the supply of goods or services specified in paragraph 2 of Schedule 2 is an exempt supply. And whereas Section 21 of the Act provides that an import of goods or services is an exempt import where the import would be an exempt supply under Section 18 and paragraph 2 of Schedule 2 if it was supply of goods or services in Dominica. And whereas Section 105(1) of the Act authorizes the Minister to amend the schedule of the Act by order published in the Gazette, and whereas Section 105(2) of the Act provides that an order made under subsection 1 shall be subject to affirmative resolution of Parliament, and whereas on the 7th day of April 2026, the Minister made the Value Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2026. And whereas it is desirable that the Value Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2026 be affirmed, be it therefore resolved as follows. The order may be cited as the Value Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2026 and the Value Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2026, which was laid on the table of the House on the 10th day of April 2026, is affirmed. I can manage. Mr. Speaker, during the presentation of the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget address, government announced its intention to expand the list of VAT-exempt goods for a period of 6 months with effect from October 1, 2026. These exemptions were proposed to cushion the impact of higher than normal imported inflation on our citizens and residents during that period. The expanded list, which comprised 26 goods, was affirmed by a resolution of Parliament in November 2025. The 26 goods on which there was no VAT from October 1, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, that's the last 6 months, are salted herrings, codfish, onions, garlic, split peas, red kidney beans, black-eyed peas, lentils, pigeon peas, cream of wheat, cornmeal, oats, luncheon meat, canned corned beef, canned herring, canned sardines, canned tunas, canned mackerel, cereals, that's wheat, bran, etc., biscuits, unsweetened, orange juice, tomato ketchup, toothpaste, laundry detergent, toilet paper, sanitary napkins. Mr. Speaker, the VAT exemption expired on March 31st, 2026. It was government's intention to revert to charging VAT on the items, bearing in mind that the recent IMF Article 4 mission found that inflation continues to ease. However, Mr. Speaker, recent geopolitical developments in the Middle East have resulted in a significant increase in global oil prices with likely inflationary implications. In these circumstances, government has determined that it is necessary to extend the period of exemptions for a further 4 months, ending on 31st of July 2026, in order to mitigate the impact of rising prices on consumers. Mr. Speaker, as a caring government, we continue to look out for the best interests of the people of Dominica. To avoid hardships on our people, we find ways, other than through taxes, to raise revenue and provide relief when required. Note, Mr. Speaker, that we have also extended the import duty exemptions on these 26 goods for the same 4 months period ending July 31st, 2026. We encourage the suppliers of these items to cooperate with us by passing on the benefits of these exemptions to the consumers. Mr. Speaker, the extension of the exemption requires an amendment to Schedule 2 of the Value Added Tax.
PM. On this switch, just switch on not looking at time. Not, it's still not working. Wow. It's called up. House resumes and debate continues.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to commend the Minister for Finance for bringing this motion before the House today. Very simple, but has far-reaching positive implications for the citizens of our country. And from the outset, I want to say I fully support the motion before the House. Mr. Speaker, in recent weeks, the world has witnessed a conflict between the United States of America, Israel, and Iran. And though this conflict is far away from Dominica, it has direct impact on every single person living in Dominica. We have seen, Mr. Speaker, a dramatic rise in global oil prices, which have an impact on, and of course, the implication for the supply chain. And once you have a conflict and you have a supply chain challenge and you have an oil increasing the price of oil, then it has a domino effect on everything that we do in our lives. The price of food, the price of transportation, the cost of insurance, all of these things add up, Mr. Speaker. And these things place tremendous pressure on small states like Dominica that are so vulnerable to external shocks. And so this, Mr. Speaker, reaches every single country, including ours. And for countries like ours that are dependent in large measure on imports, almost everything we use for construction in Dominica, we import it. Everything, we import it. And so they cause things to increase. That has direct impact on the prices, because no private sector person is going to absorb any increase. They'll pass it on to us, the consumers of the country. And so, though we are innocent bystanders in this conflict, we have to find solutions, and we have to bring measures to protect the people of Dominica from the consequences of this war. And so it is not of our doing, but we must find solutions to it. And so, Mr. Speaker, it is in this context, in March of 2026, we announced a series of measures that the government will implement to help cushion the impact of the conflict on the people of Dominica. And I'm happy that we are in the Parliament today at the earliest opportunity we had, even invoking, Mr. Speaker, the emergency provisions for the convening of Parliament, because we felt we could not wait for the normal time that is required to inform the Parliament of its sitting. Because the people of Dominica need the relief now. They can't wait later, Mrs. And so we're here to extend the exemptions on the value added tax on a series of goods, and also import duties on those goods as well. That will have a direct impact, because we recognize and we accept, Mr. Speaker, these are difficult times. We've not said that these are not difficult times. Because global forces threaten to erode the purchasing power of governments, of businesses, and of domestic households. And so, as a government, we are here to take decisive action to stabilize the lives and the livelihoods of our citizens of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Because families have challenges in meeting the rising cost of basic necessities. So this government is acting with urgency and, very importantly, Mr. Speaker, empathy. Because a government must always be empathetic. It must always show that it cares for the people. Not in words, Mr. Speaker, but by deeds and by actions. And this has been the hallmark of this Dominican Labour Party in government over the last 25 years. And Mr. Speaker, we're doing this at a time when we are being faced with harsh criticisms from opposition forces. In the highlighting the Article 4 consultation of 2026. And this, all of a sudden, they love the IMF. They never liked the IMF report. They say, well, the IMF was colluding with Scarrett. But now they're quoting the IMF report. Because they believe that small things the IMF said is a negative to the government. But I tell them no. I love the IMF report. I always love the IMF report. I don't agree with some things they say, the kind of language they use sometimes. But I respect the report. It is done diligently and it is done properly. But let me, Mr. Speaker, for perspective and summary, draw to the Parliament and the people of Dominica what the IMF says. Let me find it, Mr. Speaker. What the IMF said. And this is what the IMF says. I'm reading from, Mr. Speaker, from the Article 4 consultation of March of 2026. The IMF says, Mr. Speaker, real GDP growth accelerated to 4.5% in 2025 from 3.5% in 2024, supported by robust tourism, 36% above pre-pandemic levels, and targeted development investments. The airport, the marina, the cable car, housing, roads, supporting the hotel and the private sector, improving doing business in Dominica, all of these things, agriculture. It goes on to say, inflation continued to ease, averaging 2.5% in 2025. The current account deficit remained elevated, primarily reflecting high construction-related imports. Which means, Mr. Speaker, in essence, some things are happening. So when they hear current account deficit, they believe, well, the government mismanaging, scared of managing, boy. No! Hear what it says. And it goes on to say, strong execution of macro-critical projects, including resilient roads. Bois-Diab, Cassie-Bruce, Calago Territory, Atkinson, Clevois, Loupet, Belleville-Chopin, Pichelet, Bacatel, Fort Saint-Jean, Fab, Piritsavan, Grand Bay Road. And geothermal transmission lines, Mr. Speaker. It goes on to say this interrupted the steady fiscal adjustment of recent years by contributing to a widening of the primary deficit in 2024-2025. And this is why we have said, Mr. Speaker, we need to have big ticket items in Dominica. And we know that once you have these big ticket items, it may affect little things. Because ultimately, when these big ticket items get into play, Mr. Speaker, it's going to address all the little things that you have problems with. It goes on to say, Mr. Speaker, real GDP growth is projected to average 3% in 2027, supported by continued strategic investment in flagship infrastructure projects, before gradually slowing to around 2% as construction winds down. The deficit is expected to return to normal on the back of stronger tourism, a normalization of investment-related imports, and lower energy-related fuel imports needs, accompanying the transition to geothermal energy. It goes on to say, Mr. Speaker, the IMF report, the article for consultation. Under current policies, the primary balance is projected to improve from an estimated primary surplus of 0.7% of GDP this year to 1% in the next fiscal year, 2026-2027. Overall risk to the outlook are elevated and tilted to the downside, driven by spillovers from the war in the Middle East, heightened geopolitical and trade tensions, uncertainty surrounding the CBI inflows, and persistent natural disasters. End of quote. This is what the IMF says, Mr. Speaker. So, despite all of these challenges, Mr. Speaker, our economy is expanding, inflation is easing, and our investments are yielding the results that we have said they would yield. And while the current account deficit remains elevated, the IMF attributes this primarily to the robust execution of our macro-critical projects. They didn't say ill-discipline. They recognize that this is what is causing it, Mr. Speaker. And none of the downside risk that the IMF indicated in the economic outlook for Dominica, the Middle East war, heightened geopolitical trade and geopolitical trade tensions, uncertain CBI inflows, and natural disasters are within the control of the government and people of Dominica. None of them. So, in reviewing the IMF report, the critics of the government have tried to make heavy weather of the primary balance benchmark as an indicator that all is not well. All is not well. So, Mr. Speaker, permit me to present to this Honorable House what I hope will clear and give a practical understanding of the concept of primary balance in Dominica's current trajectory and the implications for fiscal policy and decision making in the mold of what is before us today, Mr. Speaker. And so, just to, if you allow me, Mr. Speaker, to read this. The primary balance is the difference between government's total revenue and total expenditure, excluding interest payments on public debt. So, you have a primary surplus when revenues exceed non-interest expenditures. And you have a primary deficit when non-interest expenditures exceed revenues. The primary balance is a monitoring tool used to assess, one, fiscal discipline, that is the responsible management of revenue and expenditure, two, debt sustainability, And 3, government's ability to meet its obligations without excessive borrowing. And for Dominica, these things are very important because of our high debt and our exposure to external shocks and natural disasters. We are aware of that, and the fact that we are heavily dependent on imports for many of the things that we're doing in our country. We have to import every car, every part of a car, import fuel, import construction material, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you in the pizza making business, the flour, the pepperoni, the ham, the ground beef, the onion, Mr. Speaker, the oil. All of these things must be imported. Because we don't produce those things. You build in a house, you build in a hotel, you build in a road, the bitumen, the bitumen has to be imported. The nail, the wire mesh, the steel. We have stones and we don't understand the stone in Dominica, we just take somewhere else. And if you add the stones to that, Mr. Speaker, you understand the. So we have to appreciate those things. And so, Mr. Speaker, in recent years, Dominica's fiscal position has been shaped in large measure by resilience building, or response to COVID-19, or response to external shocks and natural disasters. We've had all material times, Mr. Speaker, in short spaces of time, have had to respond to those shocks, respond to the dislocation that these disasters and external shocks have caused to our country. And so we experienced deficits of averaging 4.3% of GDP. All of which, if you look at, Mr. Speaker, the data shows you that these things happen immediately after a natural disaster, after COVID-19, after an external shock. Yeah. But every other time, Mr. Speaker, there has been positive growth in the economy of Dominica. And even now, as we're going through some of our challenges, mainly due by external shocks, Mr. Speaker, there is still growth in the economy, as highlighted by the International Monetary Fund. And so, Mr. Speaker, thanks to our deliberate policy of fiscal consolidation, Dominica, according to the IMF 2026 Article 4 consultation report, Dominica is now in a primary surplus position of 0.7% of GDP, or $14.7 million. The IMF goes into to recommend, and referencing the IMF report, Mr. Speaker, the IMF recommends that Dominica hits a primary surplus target of 3.4% of GDP, that is approximately $71.4 million. And very soon I can show you where we can get the $71.4 million easily. Soon, by 2027 and 2028, and sustains it over the medium term in order to, 1, reduce debt to safer levels. So when the economy grows, it becomes the debt, though may not reduce in terms of nominal value, but in terms of GDP will decrease as well. Okay? Strengthen fiscal discipline. Accumulate 12% of GDP, approximately $252 million in contingent self-insurance against disaster events. And we're discussing that in reference to DOMLEC, in reference to DOASCO, and more of our assets, and enhance economic stability. But let me show you, Mr. Speaker. Where is this document? I have been documents today, Mr. Speaker. Normally I don't have documents, but I have been documents today. Here it is, Mr. Speaker. Government's special programs, school uniforms, school books, school transportation. We transport every child to secondary school. Free Dominican State College tuition. Grants to early childhood institutions. Over 65 non-contributory pension. That's people who did not pay Social Security and therefore cannot benefit from it because they did not meet the threshold to benefit to get a Social Security pension. Grants to care institutions. Free hospital services for those under 18 and those over 60. Public assistance. Compassionate allowance. National Employment Program, the NEP. Rapid response and provision of financial support for our citizens and residents who need urgent medical care overseas. Mr. Speaker, just with those interventions, you're talking about 92 million. Last year, 2025, 92,560,541.58. So you see where the $71 million is? You see it? So by stopping these programs today, if we stop them today, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance will have $92 million that he can play with and have the $71 million for the account surplus. But this will not happen, Mr. Speaker, because we have to balance the lives of the people of Dominica. The government cannot boast it can balance its life and balance its books, and the people cannot balance their lives. We must have a balance, Mr. Speaker. So when people are talking about, oh, it's scary, this is scary, that, and the economy is this, this is where scary is spending the money. The state college, and this young people listening, we gave the state college last year, Mr. Speaker, for free tuition for the students attending the state college, $7,176,806. Last year we spent to send people overseas for urgent medical care, $5,969,614.43. When a lady comes to me and she has a premature baby, and she says to me, Prime Minister, she can't come when the husband comes and say, Prime Minister, I have a baby there, one child we have, and the child is sick in the incubator at the nursery at the hospital, and I have an invoice for 52,000 euros to go to Martinique. What do I say? What do I say to our parents this week? What do I say? That go home and pray to God? Or tell her what Job's wife told him to curse God and die? What do I do? As difficult as things may be, and the government needs the money to do other things, we have to help that child, we have to try to save that baby's life. And I was so, Mr. Speaker, I tell people I don't want people to tell me thanks when we do something good. It's not for me. But I was so touched when they brought the baby to me, the child to me after the surgery a while, child growing well, running across my office, went to, 2 years later, they brought the child and child watching the fishes there and playing and stuff. These are the kind of things we experience on an ongoing basis, Mr. Speaker. Somebody gets cancer. They need cancer treatment that we can provide here. The government has to stand with the people. That's what we're doing. The people over 65 and over non-contributory pension. I used to go across Dominica, Mr. Speaker, and the senior citizens with me, and just carry it. I used to pay into the Provident Fund, and I get nothing. I work on the government road. I build this bridge. I build a school. I work on the Colas truck. I work at the hospital. And we're getting no pension. This is how we came up about providing them with an allowance. And I can tell you when I meet these people, Mr. Speaker, they tell me how impactful, as small as it is, how impactful it is on their lives. Now, last year, Mr. Speaker, last year, in that category of over 65 non-contributory pension, we paid $13,309,929 towards senior citizens. Compassionate allowance, school transportation, and all of these buses, Mr. Speaker, are private buses. Private buses, so we put in that money directly into the pocket of the bus owners in Dominica to transport our children to school so they don't have to be on the roads and exposed to all kinds of challenges. Safely home, safely to school. We spent last year, Mr. Speaker, $3,099,286. And if I were to go on and to tell you the other things that we're doing, where we could get even more money, Mr. Speaker. You know, we have something called ad hoc concessions. It is a concession that is not supported by any legislation. Okay? Somebody come and we give them the concession by the cabinet, or the cabinet has authorized the Prime Minister to do that. Last year, Mr. Speaker, $13.7 million. A young lady, she has a baby, she has 2 children going to school, she has a good job, she saves some money, she wants to live the Dominica dream, to have a motor herself. She comes to us and says, I'm scared, but I buy a little vehicle, not expensive, but a little concession. What do I say to her? But that's costing the treasury. But was money we put in the hands of the people? A youngster decided he wants to have a second gig because he's seeing the opportunities in tourism. And he wants to buy 3 little vehicles to put in the rental pool. And he wants a little boost, a little jump start. And we give him the concessions, but that is money that should have come to the treasury, but we give it to him. We let him keep it. Somebody building a house, and a family member sending some building materials for them, or some furniture, some tiles. Then maybe they saw on Amazon, because that's where they're making shopping online. And she likes it. Or they go on Pinterest and so on. So Pinterest and so on, Mr. Speaker. And they love this thing. People watching TikTok videos, Mr. Speaker. But people like nice things. People want to have nice things. And the person comes and says, scary boy, build a little house there, and a little building material, little tiles and so on, duty free and so on. We give it to them. But that is money, that's $13.7 million. That many of us in this room and listening to me in the public domain could know how we could spend that money on many little things in the community that we could do. But that money is in the people's pocket. Boosting them, Mr. Speaker. Last year, Mr. Speaker, just for housing assistance, building materials and some money for labor, so that we can separate the 15-year-old sister from the 17-year-old brother. They can have only space. Or sometimes the young girl got pregnant, she have 2 children, and she living with her mother still, but she living in the living room. The children sleeping in the living room. They would have only a private space. And they come to us. Last year, Mr. Speaker, we spent $27.2 million on this. Between 2024 and 2025, we gave out 723 homes, Mr. Speaker. Average cost of these homes, say $400,000. If we were to sell these homes at $100,000 a piece, I believe you would have about, what, $772.3 or so million? Right? We could have gotten that. We gave some $42 million to the private sector for concessions that is guided by law. In some countries, because they don't get 100%, they get 50%, 40%. but we give them 100% in Dominica. There are companies that exist for many decades have not paid income tax at all. And I don't even include income tax waivers and corporate tax waivers into this consideration. And $56 million estimated loss because, Mr. Speaker, people don't pay their VAT to the unit. People underreport in terms of the value of goods on their invoices to customs. People withhold pay from their staff and they don't pay this to the income tax. That's about $56 million that we could have gotten into the trade. And I'm happy that the Ministry of Finance is enhancing and working on improving the collection, and they've been doing a pretty good job lately. I understand them for that, for the customs and the revenue. But that is a big job for the customs to be monitoring and policing, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable Prime Minister be given 20 minutes, an additional 20 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Prime Minister be given an additional 20 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Honorable Prime Minister, you are given an additional 20 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I did not include overseas studies. I did not include what we do for the farmers. I don't include the small business grants and many other such interventions. But when you add up all of what I have articulated here, Mr. Speaker, if we were to eliminate all of them, we would save some $318 million. And if we were to cut it by 50%, you would know how much we would have. So if we start selling a house at $100,000 to people who receive the homes, that could bring revenue into the treasury. If you put the $27 million at the aid bank and you go, you want to fix your house and you get a loan, the money will come back to the government. So we'll keep the $27 million. This is the stark reality, Mr. Speaker. I decided to do so because I don't talk sometimes, scared this, bye. So I wanted to give the government people the facts, the numbers, Mr. Speaker. That's why I'm looking for over a projector here. I'm not sure what you will say. You can see it. You can see the numbers. You can see the numbers, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're doing. And so, Mr. Speaker, let us all be very clear in this House and the country. Achieving and maintaining a healthy primary surplus requires careful policy choices. And I'll give you some of them, like raising revenue through additional taxes and or enforcement of compliance with tax responsibilities. Two, like controlling recurrent expenditure, and I point out to us there are a number of things that we have there. And I could speak about government vehicles and the use of government vehicles, telephones, use, high, just Minister for Health. For the first several months of this financial year, the Ministry of Health for hospitals and health centers has spent $3.8 million to DOMLEC in 7 months. So this, and then you have like prioritizing capital investment. So we have a number of things there that we can cut. But the question is, which ones? Which ones can we eliminate? And we cannot go about cutting indiscriminately, Mr. Speaker. We cannot just cut, say, 50%. Because we're talking about human beings, their welfare, their well-being, their livelihoods, their survival. We cannot just cut, Mr. Speaker. So in doing all of these things, government must simultaneously promote economic growth, support vulnerable households, respond to rising global prices, invest in infrastructure and climate resilience. And so when you are faced with this, Mr. Speaker, there's always the tension between fiscal policy and the welfare of the human being. And I believe that, Mr. Speaker, I never believe that a government, I see a government as a non-profit organization. We have to maintain fiscal prudence. We have to have money for rainy day. But we can't just come here and boast and talk about $71 million primary surplus. And people need help outside there with their house and the transportation and healthcare, Mr. Speaker. No. We can achieve this too, Mr. Speaker. That's why when people say about this government and they want to represent the government, you must tell us what is that you're going to provide to the people, Dominica. What are you going to do differently outside of advancing your own selfish personal agendas? Let's talk about the country. Let's talk about Dominica. And what would you do for Dominica, not for yourself? So the idea of going out there and recruiting independent candidates to try to take us carry there, that's not the way to go. No, it's about Dominica, and every single citizen of Dominica has a right to do well in our country. And this is why, Mr. Speaker, I will always stand in defense of the people of Dominica, especially those who are still down on the ground. Because unless we raise everyone up, Mr. Speaker, our work is not over. Those who have, thank God. And those who do not have, we must get, Mr. Speaker. That's the policy. All shall eat, Mr. Speaker. As Dr. Mac always says, all may not eat at the same time. But all will eat at some point, Mr. Speaker. And there is nobody in this country, not one living soul, and including the dead, Mr. Speaker, that this government has not touched directly, Mr. Speaker. None. And contrary to what some people are saying, none of these policies are discriminatory. Every child jumps on the bus. Everybody 65 over gets the allowance once you don't have a social security. We don't discriminate. There's nobody who has come to me for health care to overseas and ask them who they are, who they don't support. No. We provide the help to you, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, measures such as that which the Minister of Finance has presented on behalf of the government, Mr. Speaker, like the VAT and duty waivers on essential goods, are designed to ease the cost of living burden and protect our citizens during this very difficult period of economic stress caused by an external shock, Mr. Speaker. But while these measures provide immediate relief to households, it also reduces on government's revenue. And I'll tell you something, Mr. Speaker. Let me look for this document. Let me look for it. Right there. Things right there. Right there. Mr. Speaker, we introduced this measure in July of last year to March of this year. And let me tell you how much revenue that this measure we have not put into the treasury, and we have left in the pockets and purses and wallets of Dominican people. Import duty exempt goods revenue, Mr. Speaker, foregone. July 1, 2025 to March 31, 2026, $4,385,851.83. That's just for the import duty part. Just from July to March. VAT exemptions, revenue foregone, July 1, 2025 to March 31, 2026, $7,281,212.15. A total of over $12 million. And we're here today, Mr. Speaker, to extend this until July, when we'll present the new budget for the new financial year, ensuring that there is no break, Mr. Speaker, in the relief to the people, especially with the advent of the conflict in the Middle East and what it is causing on the lives and the livelihoods of every single citizen in this country, in this world and this country included. And so this is what we're doing. So we've left over $12 million in just this measure. And there are other measures in the budget, Mr. Speaker. When you add this, we could have had we can have a better primary surplus. But we decide that this is about people, Mr. Speaker, people. And so we're making steady progress in the responsible, sustainable, people-centered management of the nation's finances. Maintaining this trajectory, Mr. Speaker, will require continued discipline, strategic prioritization, and a balanced approach that safeguards both economic stability and the welfare of people. This is why sometimes, Mr. Speaker, people may say, well, why the government hasn't done that? They talked about that some time ago. But when these things happen, these external shocks come, and we have to forego the revenue that we needed to do these things, we have to decide, how do we prioritize? What do we do? Do we give people relief or pursue doing this particular project? Do I cut the medical overseas thing by 50% and use the $3 million to do something else? Do I tell the family who wants to bury their loved one in dignity that we have stopped providing little funeral grants to them so that everybody can be buried, live and buried in dignity, Mr. Speaker? Do we tell the people who want to do duty free on the motor car, local car they bringing in, or the young man who doing the car rental as a gig, what do we say to them? The shop is closed. Or the young couple who's been in a house and they're getting the materials cheaper by importing themselves, and the furniture, and the appliances. Do we say to them, no, the shop is closed because we want to achieve a $71 million primary surplus? Do we tell the parents across Dominica, in Delis, in Pidissavan, in Penville, in Marigot, in Wesley, in Salisbury, in Corleo, in Dubla, in Biosh, Scottshead, Soufriere? Should I instruct the Minister for Education and tell them to write to the schools and the parents, tell them that the free transportation for secondary school students is over? No, we should not do that. But those who want to do it, and those who think that it is reckless for us to do, you can achieve it and you can beat your chest. But how would the people be? What would their lives be? Because this thing is targeting the core of the society, the heart of the society, the sensibilities of our people. That's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. So this is where we are with this. So, Mr. Speaker, this measure before us today, this resolution, this motion, Mr. Speaker, before us today, is really about people. It's about people. It's not about economics. It's not about fiscal policy. It's not about economic indicators and variables. It's not about primary balance or current account deficit or surplus. It's about people. Putting people at the center of what we're doing. The whole notion about putting people first, Mr. Speaker. That's what we hear today. It's about, Mr. Speaker, the single mother who's trying to put food on the table. It's about the pensioner, the senior pensioner with a fixed income, trying to make ends meet. That's what it's about. And it's about the families whose wages, Mr. Speaker, their income have not kept a pace with inflation. This is about people. And these people and these categories of people understand what the government is doing on their behalf. Because as the saying goes, who feels it knows it. There are some who have, and they can do whatever they want, but we must always be concerned about those who are not on equal par with us. Always be. That's what life is about. Complementarity, solidarity, being our neighbor's keeper. So by removing these taxes on essential goods, we are easing the cost of living on the people, protecting household incomes, and ensuring that basic necessities are within the reach of every single citizen, irrespective of your station in life. And so, Mr. Speaker, we can't control wars that are fought abroad, nor can we dictate global commodity prices. But we can control how we respond, and respond we are today, Mr. Speaker. And our response will always be guided by one fundamental principle: to look out for people, especially in difficult times. And it's not about giving from the largest that we have, it's giving from the little that we have. That's a biblical principle. When you give people from the excess that you have, the rest, that's not empathy, that's not love, that's not caring. But when you give them, when you share somebody, you have one plate of food and you share it in three. That's what it is, and that's what the government is doing. So we're not saying all is well. But we know why all is not well. Because we're spending the money that's supposed to go on to look, the fiscal side look better than it is looking, on human beings, on people. And so this is what responsible governance requires. This is what caring, compassionate, competent leadership demands. And this is what the people of Dominica deserve, Mr. Speaker. A government that understands how people live. And a government that understands the hardships of people and their dreams and their aspirations. Because the government is among the people. And the government is responding based on its knowledge of the people and the challenges that they're confronting. That's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. So, we are committed to the private sector and keeping in place the concession regime to facilitate and to encourage investments in our country, both local and foreign. We'll continue to support the aid bank in providing funds to the aid bank so it can lend to the private sector at cheaper rates. We'll continue to leverage our majority shareholder at the National Bank to ensure that the National Bank responds to the needs of the economy and the investors in our country. That it can develop policies reflective of the aspirations of our country and our citizens. But we must also remain committed to our children and to our elderly and to our pensioners. We must remain committed to our farmers, Mr. Speaker. We must never talk about just indiscriminately cutting the National Employment Program, because it means so much to so many people. Nothing pleases me more than when an NEP intern comes to me, working under the category of beautification in the country, and with a smile says to me, Prime Minister, buy a little vehicle. I buy a little vehicle, nothing big, nothing expensive. She save a little money, and she's able to buy a little vehicle to drive around. We have to remain committed to the college students and to the health of our people. This is not a time for us to eliminate the support that we provide to people in the healthcare. We have to provide more education. People have to take care of themselves. But the government has a duty and obligation to provide healthcare to our people. And so, Mr. Speaker, in extending this relief, we reaffirm our commitment to stand with the people, not only in times of stability, but more importantly, in times of uncertainty. And the people of Dominica, whether you like Spirit or not, whether you like Labour or not, you cannot say that Labour has not stood by the people in difficult times. And the history of Dominica will show that there has been no government in our country that has been more people-centered, more compassionate, more caring, and more empathetic than this government that I have the honor to lead, Mr. Speaker. And we went true to this because we understand that government is not about the physical only. It's about human beings, their welfare, their well-being. We now have universal access to early childhood education, preschool education. That with the private preschools we are paying, we get them an allowance every term, and we're now taking over a number of preschools in Dominica where we're providing employment, paying for these people to attend, to teach our children. Provide them with the training to become qualified preschool teachers. And every child in Dominica has access to a preschool in Dominica. I am not prepared to stop that program, Mr. Speaker, because I understand how important, in my training in psychology, how the foundational years of a child is so crucial. You can make the child to be anything you want to, the child to become in his adult life by what you train a child in his foundation years. And therefore we have to ensure that every child in Dominica, not those of us who have the ability to send our children to special schools, but those who do not have the ability, the financial support, that every child in Dominica must be given a solid foundation that they can build upon in the adult life and live as productive, respectful citizens of our country. That we must never abandon our senior citizens who have built Dominica that we're enjoying today. Not because life met them with difficult times in old age, Mr. Speaker, that we must abandon them. I met a young lady, Mr. Speaker, and this is why I'm so concerned about senior citizens in Dominica. 44 years. 44 years. Got a massive stroke. On her way, she was hypertensive. And she's been bedridden for the last 6 years. We've had to provide her with a caregiver. She has no children. And we had to provide her for compassionate allowance, so she can buy food. She can buy some ensure. And she can, at least, as long as the Lord has her on earth, she can live not the best of her life, because she's invalid in terms of being bedridden, but at least she has a comfort. And I even went, Mr. Speaker, my own means and bought her a television, so she can sit down in the room or lie down on the bed and at least watch a little TV and have company when there's none. These are the kinds of things that we don't speak about publicly, that we do, and I encounter every single day in this country. And so, Mr. Speaker, I always maintain, Mr. Speaker, that the strength of a nation is measured not only by economic indicators disclosed in IMF reports and World Bank reports and other reports, Mr. Speaker, but by how well it protects and uplifts its people in times of greatest needs. And so, there are some who will say that we are giving handouts and we should stop it. But for those who are receiving it, my dear brothers and sisters, this is really their survival, their livelihoods. And we must never allow ourselves to be distracted as a government and as a nation from our duty to the people of Dominica. Is this government perfect? Have we done everything correctly? No. But no one can contest that this government has managed the economy of Dominica responsibly. I always say that we have been responsive to the needs of the people, but we've also been responsible. Because it requires a certain level of responsibility to ensure that the ship of state is managed properly, at the same time that the people themselves can benefit from it. And while I will agree full-heartedly that every such program that we have must be continuously evaluated and examined to ensure that it is fit for purpose, that it is responding to the needs, and that it is not being taken advantage of. But we must never, for selfish aggrandizement, suggest that we must do away with these programs. Because at some point, the Lord will come to judge the living and the dead. And so, Mr. Speaker, I support full-heartedly this motion, and that we remain true as a government, that though we have no control over these variables, but we are responding to protect the citizens of our country. And I am happy to be part of this government that understands that, the need for us to be there for our people. That we must not concern ourselves that we had breakfast. We must concern ourselves who may not have had breakfast this morning. And what can we do to ensure that they too can have something to eat? Because there are some of us who throw food after we eat. But there's some who have to put it in the freezer for lunch. And that's the reality. And so this is all. It's okay. I think the speaker will give me 2 minutes. The way you have that for
You get 1 minute already.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable Prime Minister be given an additional 15 minutes. And I'm sure that we all will agree how deep, how profound, and how impactful this presentation is. I was moved to ask for a day, but I'm trying to be reasonable.
Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Prime Minister be given an additional 10 minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Honorable PM, you are given an additional 10 minutes. Or 15. An additional 15. I try to minus 5, but...
So Mr. Speaker, I have tried to respond to the IMF report and to explain to the Dominican people what the report explained and the facts of the matter. I know that the government is oblivious to the facts or is indifferent to the facts. The government is aware of what's going on. The government is aware of the measures they can take if it wants to have a primary surplus of $71 million. But I don't believe that the government should be boasting while the people have challenges. And so, even if housing, and I feel at some point, Mr. Speaker, we have to review the government's policy on free houses. That I believe that the time has come that we have built sufficient homes in Dominica, and the time has come where people have to pay something for those homes that they're receiving. But these are investments that we've had to make for people who have lost everything and people who will never have the ability to build a home on their own. And I have seen firsthand, Mr. Speaker, the sheer positive impact on the way of life and the standard of living of these people who receive those homes. That they have access to water and electricity, basic things. And oftentimes, Mr. Speaker, people want to compare us to other countries. But let's not compare the superficial things. Deeper into your research. And you will see that what this government is doing for people in Dominica, those countries are not doing it, Mr. Speaker. Because they ask me all the time, how do you do it? We so little money. We do it because we are moved by empathy, by understanding that we don't have to preoccupy ourselves all the time and only with economic indicators as outlined by the International Monetary Fund. Because at the end of the day, we are a government. And so while I'm not adverse to the recommendation and suggestion because they're all rightly placed, but the government has a duty and obligation to examine each of those recommendations and to look at all your programs and policies and to see in a good conscience whether those things, what you're proposing to cut and to eliminate, is the right thing to do. For me, who has a broader view of the country, from my position, I understand it better than most. Because there's people in the country look at it from their narrow perspective. I have to look at it from every perspective. And I always say, Mr. Speaker, that I don't believe that we only have a political duty to our people, but we have a biblical duty to the people, as entering in Matthew 25. That's what it is. And so we'll continue to support the private sector, continue to support the important projects to grow the economy. That's what we're doing, and we've seen the results. But we must continue to hold the hands of those who need a hand holding until they can get across the river and be on their own 2 feet. But the reality is, Mr. Speaker, a 72-year-old lady, we can't tell her to go to work. So I want to thank the House for giving me some extra time. Though I think it might be better to move to amend the rules of the House to give the Prime Minister leader a little more time for such contributions, Mr. Speaker. But I will leave it to the House to decide on that. But I want to thank him for the time, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for Finance for this, and the Financial Secretary and others for working on this, the AG's office working on this to be here in Parliament. And this is a great day for people, Dominic. Great day. I'm so happy, Mr. Speaker. I said I have to leave at some point, Mr. Speaker, 12:30 there about. I have to attend the funeral in my village, so I will be absent. Thank you so much.
Yes, Senator Parrish, you are recognized. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your recognition. Parliamentary colleagues, good morning. Mr. Speaker, it's good to be back. My presentation will be very short. The presentation by the Prime Minister was the conversation that he started. I think is a very important conversation. And Mr. Speaker, you were right. I don't think it was a slip of the tongue earlier. I think it was a revelation, an inspiration that this almost feels like budget. It almost felt like a budget response. I wouldn't go that far with my response, but I want to comment on the conversation. A few little things that I consider to be housekeeping before we get into it. There's a lapse between May 31st and today, and we're now doing the extension today. Maybe the Minister of Finance in his wrap-up can give our merchants and our distributors some confidence that that 10-day gap, even if they had goods that came in that would be subject to the VAT and import duty application, that they shouldn't get nervous and skyrocket the price within that 10-day and say that that is when they brought it in and so on and so forth, right? And on that note, I would like to assume that the government is comfortable with the level of monitoring and control that they have been doing. I will be honest that in my questioning and in the evaluations that I've done, even online, Mr. Speaker, you know, social media is one of the places where you look for indicators as to the impacts of these types of policies on people. There has not, and I stand corrected, there has not been as much complaints as regards to people not seeing the difference. And I think Dominican people would complain. Yes, that is something to clap about. I think that's something that we can be commended on. But this is not to say that we should take it for granted. We should continue to monitor, control, and to work with the private sector, our merchants and our distributors to ensure that we are making sure that what we're doing here, the policies that we are instituting here, get to the people who it is intended to impact. So, Mr. Speaker, 1 and 2. And Mr. Speaker, on the interest in while we're on it, I have an ask in the spirit, the leader of government, in the spirit of relieving the burden on the people of Dominica as it relates to finances and absorbing the external shocks that we have no control over. we have one more little thing. Now that the Electoral Commission has come to its senses, even though they didn't respond to my letter, you know, we have some good people over there. I still want to lay on the table again the request that we should remove, for a temporary period, the $20 fee for applications for receiving birth certificates for individuals who want to confirm. In the same spirit of easing the burdens on Dominicans, making it easier for disadvantaged people to go and confirm. And we're all honest here. We know we have some difficulties, and that is one of the things that people are bringing up. And now that the Electoral Commission has conceded and they've gotten back to their senses and good sense has prevailed, one of the measures that we can look at is for the period of confirmation. All eligible voters, and the Prime Minister is agreeing with me. I'd like to let the listening public know that his mic is off. You can't hear him. Clap, please. I think that is something that we can agree on in the spirit of easing the burden on the people of Dominica. But on the issue of ensuring that we respond to external shocks, and Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to side with you on this. You know, I find these days we're getting things to side on. I don't know what's going on. But let me. Anybody that is suggesting that you should reduce and remove social assistance programs for the disadvantaged people of Dominica, I would like to categorically distance myself from that. The social assistance programs for the people of Dominica is something that is necessary. Even in the Bible says that the wheat and the tares will grow together, and those people will always be with you, and it is our responsibility as a government and as people in Dominica to take care of disadvantaged people. No, you're taking it too far. No, that's not what I'm saying. No, you're proud of me? Thank you. No, you're going too fast. Take it easy. No, but Mr. Speaker, on a very serious note, we have to understand the value of taking care of people who can't take care of themselves. And Prime Minister alluded to it. People will try to abuse the programs. And monitoring and control and efficiency and ethics will assist us with managing that. And some of the people that want to take advantage of these social assistance programs is our friends, and we must stop them, we must call them out. We will always have those people too. But to remove the program because we have to balance, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I want to show us some places. Instead of looking at reducing and removing and asking the Minister of Finance to stop the social assistance programs for all of these people with varying ranges of disadvantages, why don't we add some things? I don't want the people listening, and particularly people who are listening to the Prime Minister, to think that we're bragging about not being able to manufacture things in Dominica, because we can and we should. I listened to an old man, Mr. Speaker, a few years ago, and he said to me, he said, young fella, the soil in Dominica is so good, particularly in the central rainforest, that if you stand around too long, you will start to grow. I mean, it's a bit of an exaggeration, Mr. Speaker, but the point is being made that we can almost grow anything we want. But Mr. Speaker, if that is true, we should be able to add value to the things that we can grow. We should be able to put systems in place that will allow us to allow our farmers, people who have some of the greatest, another old man, senior, was telling me something about the moon the other day. He told me that is why I cut my hair in the wrong moon. So that, you know, he told me that could have been affecting it, because you understand, right? Minister, sorry. You understand, it's the wrong moon. But Mr. Speaker, these people have a significant amount of talent that is not found anywhere, and you can't teach it in schools. But we need to give them something to do with it. These men can produce food and add to our food security in Dominica, but we need to add value to it. We need to be able to take the plantains that we have, and we can grow with little to no effort, and allow these farmers to bring them to a factory or some kind of collection station, and they just know they have to bring it there. Mr. Speaker, you want to know what I saw on the shelves recently? banana peze in a plastic, in a package. No. Of course it's private sector, Mr. Prime Minister. I understand you, but nothing is preventing us from partnering with the private sector to ensuring that we can add to our food security and the production of food. That is what is going to help us, Mr. Speaker. That is what is going to help us to withstand all of these external shocks and reduce our import bill. That is where we can add, not reduce, to our GDP. By partnering with the private sector and partnering with young people who have these ideas, but they don't have no collateral, they don't have no money, but they have a good idea. They want to, no, and that is good. So we should be doing more. We should be doing more. That is, so you're making my point, Minister. You're making my point. We well on track. But the point I'm making, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that we do not have control over these external shocks. The Strait of Hormuz doesn't belong to us, you know. There's big guys with big ships that controlling that, and the agendas don't encompass our ideologies at all, and we have no control over that. But the minute they start, it starts to affect us. Shipping, oil, energy, all of those things go up. I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, we, knowing that fully, should be doing more to ensure that regardless of these guys and their arguments and what is happening geopolitically, we can feed our people. We can invest in manufacturing and production. That type of investment, you know what it's going to do, Mr. Speaker? It's going to add jobs. It's going to add employment. And other investors, other private sector people, seeing the equilibrium and the balance and the buoyancy in our economy, will be willing to add more and invest more. What does that do, Mr. Speaker? It puts our people in a position where they have less reliance on the social assistance programs. The $300 million that we're spending will be reduced because our people can fend better for themselves. They can pay for the school bus. Some people will get off the program because now they can buy their own school books and they can make space for somebody else. They can go and they can hire insurance agencies and buy health insurance so that when they're in a dire need, like we often are, they can afford to pay for it. And they can make space for who's coming. That type of investment in sustainable development is something I think we have the potential to look more at. And instead of being bothered with people who amateurly, ignorantly, and selfishly consider getting rid of social assistance programs, let's focus our energies in adding sustainable investments to our economy and ensuring that all our people have the opportunity to develop for ourselves. But like Mr. Prime Minister, you are right. Like the airport, I've always been an advocate for the airport. But Mr. Speaker, again, in the airport situation, one of the ways we can ease the impact is ensuring that all our people have work and they are prioritized. Ensuring that our young people can get training and qualifications on new projects like that. That is what we do, Mr. Speaker. Not consider or get involved in conversations that threaten to remove subsistence for seniors. No, we're not entertaining that conversation. Where we focus in our energies is ensuring that we're making sure that our able-bodied men and women in Dominica who have right-thinking minds and the right agenda of country building are able to build a life in Dominica. Because we decide to spend money investing in sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, you can't tell me it can't happen, you know. It can happen. I want to tell you a story. It's not my story to tell, but I heard the man tell it publicly, and I want to reference it because it impacted me, and I'm so impressed with the young man. I heard a young man who opened a hotel recently in the south. Say he just went on a piece of land, and he said, I'm going to build a hotel here. In a skip and a wink, Mr. Speaker, there's a 5-star hotel over there. There's a 5-star hotel over there. You cannot tell me that with the same emphasis, we can't build a plantain flour factory. Sure. No, but it can't be something personal. It has to be something collective. It has to be something that's managed, like the non-profit organization that the Prime Minister spoke about. It has to be something for all of our people to benefit from. Maybe we can be stakeholders together, but it has to be something that helps us to sustainably grow and add to our GDP. Add to our production on a manufacturing level. Give our people who have the potential and the skill to grow anything in Dominica a place to bring it and add value to it. So it's no longer a plantain, it's not fried plantain, it's plantain chips, it's banana peze in a bag. It's plantain flour. Adding to our ability to fight against CNCDs by producing healthy food in Dominica, for Dominicans first. That is one of the ways we find that $71 million. That is one of the ways we help people to get off the social assistance programs that we have. That's the way we do it. By empowering our people with our resources. And it can be done. And I think what we need to do as a nation is come together more and find ways to partner on some of these things that, in my view, Mr. Speaker, non-negotiable. The development of Dominica and Dominica's children and the future for Dominica's children is not something that we can debate about. We can have differences of opinion and different roads to get there. We can have different instrumental values, but the terminal value is that Dominicans must develop and Dominicans must thrive in their country. Nothing, no argument about who should be on social assistance and we should cut it off. And no, Mr. Speaker, that's not what we're doing. And as Afro-Kalinago people, as Afro-Kalinago, as a country of Afro-Kalinago descent, we are too small to have these divides. But it must be a priority for us, given where we are and what we know. It must be a priority for us to be smart and ensure that some of the money, some of the investment, some of the brilliant minds that we have are coming together to do things sustainably, because like we understand a lot of the external shocks, we have no control over it. It's not our responsibility. We're just innocent bystanders. But we know that already. So let's do something about it. Let's ensure that our country, the country that we have, remains ours to build and ours to thrive in. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, and I support the resolution.
Yes, Honorable Minister. You yield to Honorable Blackmore?
Yes.
Honorable Blackmore, you are recognized. You may proceed.
Yes.
Seniority.
No seniority.
Yeah. Well, based on age?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are.
Let's proceed.
Yeah. Dominica is hosting a 3-day Caribbean Farm roadmap. And it's being done for the instrumentality of the Ministry of National Security. So I'm supposed to be down there in a while. Yes, but Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the resolution before this Honorable House. And after this very inspiring display by the Prime Minister, I believe there's nothing much for none of us on the side to say on this Honorable House. Quite honest with you. Because I realize that Senator Paris himself was highly inspired by the presentation of the Prime Minister. And he was inspired not only by the tone of the Prime Minister, but he was significantly inspired and impressed by the buffet of love, Mr. Speaker, that was presented on the table of the Dominica Labour Party, Mr. Speaker. The buffet of love. And then there are many choices, Mr. Speaker, in that buffet of love, Mr. Speaker, on the table. And the Prime Minister, in granular details, Mr. Speaker, made reference to a number of social programs, Mr. Speaker, that people of this country are benefiting from. Going back to the measure, Mr. Speaker, which is before this Honorable House, and the revenue foregone as a consequence, Mr. Speaker. And for me, as a Minister of National Security and Legal Affairs, there are so many things that could have been done with that money that have been foregone. fire trucks for the fire and ambulance services, vehicles for the police force, okay, equipment for the court system, computers for the aid chambers. And, Mr. Speaker, the list goes on. But beyond that, Mr. Speaker, it speaks to also the fiscal financial management and the level of competence that have been demonstrated therefore, Mr. Speaker. Because why do I say that, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, on average, on a monthly basis, the Minister for Finance and the Ministry for Finance have to find $22,674,000 just to pay salaries, Mr. Speaker. Just to pay salaries. And at no time, even during the COVID period and before that, Maria, that salaries were paid late, Mr. Speaker. Now, you are looking in terms, Mr. Speaker, in terms of the geopolitical dynamics we are currently confronted with, Mr. Speaker. And we know not only about petrol, but we're now going to see in the next month or two the implications on fertilizer for our farmers, Mr. Speaker. And at that time, Mr. Speaker, any other government would have come to this honorable house and say, okay, things are hard, we have to cut back on this, cut back on this. But no, we are saying to the people of Dominica, this Labour Party administration is about love. It's about caring for the people of this country. And we're saying that we want to bring relief to you further, beyond the period of time stipulated, Mr. Speaker, and to extend it, take it into consideration what is currently confronting the world and Dominica by extension. I want to just say, in response to what Mr. Paris just said, Senator Paris, which makes sense, that some of the measures that have been implemented are not reflected on the shelves. And therefore, the intention to bring relief to the people of this country, that intention is not being effective. It's not being effectuated, Mr. Speaker, for want of a better term. Let me just make it fundamentally clear here. Whereas it is difficult to prove, but the intention of this government by way of this measure was never to have allowed business places to enjoy any pecuniary advantage. The enjoying of pecuniary advantage, Mr. Speaker, is an offense. Though it is difficult to prove, Mr. Speaker, but when you're not passing on the saving that has been realized to the consumer, you are indeed committing an offense. So I want to agree with Senator Paris. There's need, Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Trade, working in concert with the Ministry of Finance to do monitoring on behalf of the citizens of this country to ensure that when measures are taken, the intention, therefore, can be effectuated. And that intention can only be effectuated when the people of this country, when the consumers get the intended results of that measure, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that Senator Paris realizes that this country is too small for all of us talking on the different sides of our mouths on matters of national significance and national importance, Mr. Speaker. And he made reference to the need to create an environment where people can work in this country, where people can work, can stay and work. Mr. Speaker, he made reference to adding value. But the international airport, when completed, will create the possibility for the emergence, Mr. Speaker, of a new economy in creative arts, but in industries, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, now is the time for us, including the private sector, to start thinking and reorienting our minds to building around the international airport, in tourism, Mr. Speaker, and even adding value, Mr. Speaker, in manufacturing. This, Mr. Speaker, is an invitation for the private sector to see the possibilities and to maximize the possibilities that will exist as a result of the completion of the international airport, Mr. Speaker. I therefore call on Mr. Paris to use his good self, because when you speak in Parliament, and I realized today he was very brave because you're protected within the precinct of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. That's why you're liberated to speak the way you spoke this morning, and I want to commend you for that. Recognizing, Mr. Speaker, the importance of the international airport and the completion, I call on you to use your good self and your good office to say to your comrades and your associates to free up the branch, Mr. Speaker. To free up the airport, Mr. Speaker. Free up the airport, Mr. Speaker, and allow, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Yes. It's relevant to comment on the international airport because you recognize in your completion, you realize in your contribution, you spoke about the international airport. You spoke about it. The rules, therefore, which I'm very aware and familiar with, provide me the opportunity to make reference to what you said, Mr. Speaker, and that's what I'm doing. And you recognize, therefore, that the international airport is a good thing. Precisely. So I'm saying, therefore, what we are now experiencing, Mr. Speaker, is something that's been done, Mr. Speaker, to prevent the airport completion date from being effective. And I believe, therefore, from my interpretation, I believe, therefore, you have a responsibility to say, okay, if all the mitigating factors are met, you have no difficulty in ensuring that the activity at the branch continues. Mr. Speaker, insofar as the birth certificates are concerned, Senator Parrish made reference to the need to remove the fees. Yeah, the Labour Party, I'm not the Minister of Finance, I'm not the Prime Minister, I'm the Minister responsible. I'm the Minister responsible for the birth certificates, vital life certificates, so to speak. What we are doing, Mr. Speaker, and I believe it's a reasonable request, and I believe the Labour Party administration has demonstrated, Mr. Speaker, that it's on the people's side. So anything that is intended, Mr. Speaker, to bring relief to the people of this country, the Labour Party will give consideration to it, Mr. Speaker. Having said that, I believe that